The voice is almost gone, you guys, so I gotta try to get this in while I still got it. Hey, what's up, bookworms? Mike back with another weekly update. We are rolling, guys, into the month of October. It is officially spooky season, so we'll be saying goodbye to Sci-Fi September and hello to spooky season, the month of October here on the channel. And lots of things going on last week. Lots of things are going to be happening this week, so we're going to kind of talk about all those now. But let's begin, like usual, my friends, with what am I reading? I did finish my 13th reading of Dune. Yes, that is not a made-up number. I really have read this 13 times. And the question I get the most is, well, did you learn anything new on your 13th read? Well, maybe I did. Maybe I didn't. I don't know. We'll have to talk about that more if I do a specific review just for Dune. Here's the thing. Is I did the Why You Should Read Dune. And I said I would do a review, just a standard, my standard book review of just the first Dune book instead of the whole series. And then I thought, I'm going to repeat a lot of those same things. So it's kind of up to you guys. If you guys want me to do a standard regular review for Dune, I can, because I could talk more specifically about just this book instead of the series as a whole. And I would love to do that. So if I was going to do that, I would do it before the movie comes out here, which is October the 22nd. So you guys give me some feedback. Let me know if you want me to do another review of just Dune, the first book, and give it the regular standard review, non-spoiler treatment, and we can do that. And I'll tell you if there was anything new that I learned on my 13th read. Long story short, yes, there is always something new to read. Then today, guys, I finished Needful Things by Stephen King. Now, guys, this was a book in my memory I liked quite a bit, and on this reread, I liked it quite a bit. In fact, I think I would call this book about like a 9 out of 10, but with a 2 out of 10 ending. I'm not going to lie to you guys. This was one of the only endings, because I fight everybody who says, oh, Stephen King can't write an ending. That's one of the only endings I can think of that I actively just dislike. And I think it's because I feel like if you haven't read numerous other books in the multiverse, the ending's not going to make a lot of sense. Like the final confrontation just kind of seems like, where is all this coming from? But if you've read other books within the multiverse, namely The Dark Tower, namely Cujo, things like that, you might get a little more things than you would just being if this was the first Stephen King book you picked up. However, that doesn't take away from the fact that it is a masterfully written book, except for some decisions that I didn't care for in the end. And I'll talk about that this month when I do my review for Into the Multiverse for Needful Things. When I get to my multiverse connections, I'll talk about some of those things and what did and did not land for me. But still, amazing book, and I recommend it to everyone. I'm glad that I liked it just as much on this reread. Volume 25 of Berserk, guys, I'm not going to lie. This is the first time I'm really struggling with that series. And it's not because anything is bad. It's not because anything is difficult. It's because there are two characters in it that are absolutely driving me insane. I do not find them funny at all. I felt like, okay, well, if there's just like a side thing, it's not a big deal. They keep seeming to have their roles expanded, and I'm not laughing at all. And it's kind of starting to be those things that have kind of kept me away from manga and anime for a long time. So I'm hoping it's just a quick stretch. It's nothing. I'm talking about Puck and Isidro, in case you guys want more specifics. And I don't know how, I don't want the Berserk fandom to turn on me like the One Piece fandom did. So I'm trying to be careful with it. Look, I still think it's an amazing series, and I love everything I've read up to this point. Just those two characters are just grating on me, and it makes me want to read something else. So that's kind of where I'm at right now in volume number 25. Yeah, the voice is really, really scripted. Guys, I got the test. I am negative. Don't worry. It's nothing like that. I just have an old-fashioned head cold. You guys know that the cold does still exist, in case you did not know. The virus that shall not be named is not the only sickness going around right now. So throat is a little rough. But let's get into what am I going to read, guys. Today is the first. You know what that means? Boom, baby. It's time to hunt some boners, right? That's what I like to say. Hunt some boners because it's funny and I'm 12. But yeah, this book, guys, is just monstrous. It's just, oh my God. Everyone acts like this is going to be, everyone, as in like Malazan readers that have already read this, veterans, are telling me, it's okay. You're going to go through this really quick. I'm like, a 1,200-page book. I'm going to go through it really quick, huh? Well, we shall see. Like I said, I did read Midnight Tides in, just over a week. And it's not that much shorter than this, but we'll see, guys. I think with this one, the fact that you go through the dramatists at the beginning, and I already know about 70% of these characters, which is a lot going into a new Malazan book, because you never know that many characters when you go into a new Malazan book. So I think that'll help quite a bit. I am taking a trip this weekend, so I'm not sure how far I'll really get into this. Really, all I did was start the prologue today, but we will see, guys. This is going to take priority this week. If I feel like I'm getting a little bogged down, I need like a quick break, I'll be counterbalancing with the first book of Spooky Season, which is The Girl Next Door by Jack Ketchum. Like I said, a book that it seems like everyone in my Discord tried to talk me out of reading because of how messed up it is. Well, that's okay. It's based on a true story. Like I said last week, guys, that don't bother me. I'm fine with knowing that this is just a dramatization of something, of real events. That's fine. I don't know what to expect, except a lot of people have said it's one of the most difficult things they've ever read, and I'm like, feed me more, so that's really it. But it's going to be mostly Bone Hunters this week, guys. I know that doesn't exactly fit with the spooky season theme, unless you think it's just like, hey, there's a bunch of skeletons. That's kind of scary. I'm sure there's some scary monsters in a Malazan book. There always is. I mean, look at the size of this thing. That's the scariest part, right? But yeah, that's going to be a priority right now, and then we'll get more into that spooky season stuff. I already read Uzumaki, but we'll talk about Uzumaki more here in a second. Let's go ahead and talk about what happened this past week on the channel. I did finally get up a review for Ender's Game, and that is one that I wanted to do for a while. I was not want to say I was spooked about it. Like I kind of said in that review, Orson Scott Card is very much a lightning rod of controversy right now, so it seems like just about every booktuber of specific age, let's put it that way, has just found it fun to just go on and dunk about how terrible that book is. And it's one of those things like, all right, well, I'm not going to be adding to that lightning rod by talking about how much I love that book. And then, you know what, about, I don't know, 7-8 months ago, I said, I don't care. I'm going to talk about the books that I love when I want to talk about them. And I do love Ender's Game, so I'm glad I finally got to talk about it. And I hope that I convinced some people to give it a shot, because, I've kind of said on this channel before that, for example, it turns out Joss Whedon's a real terrible person, right? Well, I still think Buffy the Vampire Slayer is the best TV show ever made, so I've always said that. I've said that about Lovecraft. I've said that about lots of other authors that I like, that, I have the ability to separate the art from the author, as I like to put it, and that's just something that I'm able to do. If you can't, that's fine. Really, I just don't like people, when it comes to books, telling a bibliophile what they can and cannot read or can and cannot talk about when it comes to books is just something I can't stand by. So I'm always going to talk about the stuff I want to talk about in the channel. But thankfully, it was a very grounded conversation. Most of the comments in there are from people who really did enjoy the book, and I'm glad to hear that there are other people out there who enjoy the book as much as I do. And I look forward to eventually getting into those sequels one day, even if I am kind of standoffish about them right now. I'm very, very excited to get into those eventually. And then I did my Why You Should Read for the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And not as much interest as the Ender's Game one, obviously. I don't know. I think a lot of people have this misconception that Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is something you had to read when you were like a junior high student, or else it's not going to be as funny. I don't think so at all. You just go into it with that mindset of saying, okay, this isn't going to be like some hard sci-fi real thinker. It's just a fun book. That's really what it is. So I hope more people will be encouraged to give that a shot, because the same people that are saying like, this is, I think so one person asked me, is it cutesy? Because I don't like cutesy stuff. And I'm like, aren't you the same person who's always telling me to read Discworld? And that's the comparison I always get, is if you love Hitchhiker's Guide, you'll love Discworld. So, again, the biggest thing about Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is, like I said, I don't think that all science fiction has to be super serious all the time. And Hitchhiker's Guide kind of proved that. It has a lasting legacy like it does for a reason, because it's a wonderful, wonderful story. I hope more of you will pick it up. Then I did my spoiler talk for Wisdom of Crowds. That's the last book in First Law's Age of Madness trilogy. I did my spoiler talk, and instead of doing it myself this time, I invited Philip from Philip Chase to come on the channel and speak with me about it, because I think it's more fun to have two people kind of, batting back and forth, seeing what we thought differently. We talked for about an hour, and I got told that was too short. Well, I think Philip and I could probably talk for multiple hours, as we've done before. We talked about nothing that one time, and when it comes to First Law, we can always find things to talk about. It's just it's such a new book, and not that many people have read it yet. We didn't want to really just talk forever about it. So if it's one of those things where hey, it's 3-4 years from now, we haven't got a new First Law book, me and Philip will probably get together and talk for a few hours about what makes First Law amazing. I think we could do that rather easily. But I'm glad he was able to come on the channel because I always love talking to Philip, just a gentleman and a scholar. And congratulations, Philip, on crossing 10,000 subs. I'm proud of you, my friend. All right, guys, let's talk about a little bit of next week plans. Like I said, I am going out of town. It is my wife and I's 11th wedding anniversary, so we are kid-free, so we're going to go out of town, do something fun this weekend. And so I don't know how much reading I'll actually be getting done. So I don't know if you guys will be, when I get back, if you guys will be like, yeah, we're already on like book 2 of Bone Hunters. I don't know. We'll see. But that's going to kind of take priority, obviously, guys. You're celebrating an anniversary. You don't have kids. Those kind of things don't happen very often without the kids. So I will get off the books for the month of September. It's obviously going to go into October here, obviously, but I'll get that out sometime this weekend. That's my top 15 is what I did. My top 15 favorite sci-fi movies. And I think that's a fun conversation always to have. And the thing about that video is I decided I'm not going to rank them, but I categorize them, kind of like I did my Books That Made Me Cry video, because you're talking about some of my favorite movies of all time. It's basically asking me to pick like one of my favorite kids. You're asking me to rank those sci-fi movies, so I just couldn't do it. So I did it that way because I think it's a way that's approachable for everybody, and it's just always fun to talk about those kinds of things. Then I'll be doing my winter TBR, guys. This is October, November, and December. Now, I know I already did reveal October's in my spooky season video, but just to recap, in case anybody did that, I'll do that briefly, and then I'll talk about my plans for November and December. Like I said, I only do one TBR video per quarter because I like to, you never know what's going to happen that far ahead, so I try not to do more than like a quarter at a time, but I also don't want to be that person who does one of those every single month because I think they could just get tiring. But I don't know. You guys seem to love TBR videos. Maybe I'm doing it wrong. I don't know. Maybe I'm not listening to you guys. I'll also wrap up the month of September, which was a surprisingly good month. Historically on the channel, this is my third September. With this channel. This is the best September I've had yet, which surprised me because last year we had Stormlight September, and I think we did a little better this month than then. So that's what I got to compare it to. So that's great. Anytime you got like a theme like this, it's always going to do. You're going to get some new eyes on the channel, and that's great. But as long as I'm making everyone happy, as I try to do, that's obviously what the goal is. So I'll be wrapping up September, and then I'll be doing my review for the week, which is going to be Uzumaki by Junji Ito. And it's a lot to talk about with that because it looks like a thick book. You can read it super, super fast, but there's actually a lot to unpack and talk about. That'll be kind of like my Death Note one, where I'm going to do my standard kind of thing first, and then I'll do spoilers for the second half. So if you've read it already and you're like, well, no, nobody wants to know, I feel like there's a lot of people that view this channel that might be interested in manga a little bit, but they haven't made the plunge yet. So I want to make sure that I'm trying to sell them, on these things first. So that's why I want to continue to do the non-spoiler part. But then a lot of people have already read these, these greatest hits of manga, such as Junji Ito is, and so I want to talk about some spoilers as well. So that's me trying to please both sides of the audience there. So we'll be doing that sometime next week, and that's pretty much it for books, guys. There is some TV and movie talk stuff. You know that I love Babylon 5. When I did my top top 15 sci-fi shows of all time, I sound awful. Sorry about that. Gotta keep the throat wet. But Babylon 5 is one of my favorite TV shows of all time. I think it has. Yes, the special effects are very, very dated. Very, very dated. They were ahead of their time when they did it, but you go back now, it's like, whoa, we weren't ready for this yet. But the writing on that show was some of the best that I've ever seen, because J. Michael Straczynski, that was the showrunner and the writer, he had a beginning, middle, and end planned when he started the show. And it was very successful. It did the long-form storytelling, arcs, serialized storytelling, stuff that you weren't doing a lot. It's commonplace now. In the 90s, this was kind of unheard of. But they are rebooting the show for the CW. Now, first, the red flags went off. Oh, God, CW, for real? Oh, great. So we're going to get a bunch of pop music layered over everything. But then I heard, well, J. Michael Straczynski is going to be writing it and being the showrunner for us. I'm like, okay. And here's the thing. It's like, I don't care that it can't be R-rated, guys. I mean, the original series was not R-rated. Star Trek was not R-rated until like whatever it is they're doing now. That's fine. It doesn't have to be like that. You can have really great storytelling in a PG format. I am worried about some of the demo that they go after on the CW. But you got to think back, man. The WB had Star Trek. I think it was Voyager, right? And I mean, this can be done. Is what I'm saying. It can be done. I'm apprehensive about it, but the fact that J. Michael Straczynski is going to be the showrunner has me optimistic. I don't think he'd be bringing this back if he didn't think that he was going to be able to do it the way that he wanted. He says that there are people at the network that are huge fans of the original, so they're not wanting to just, kind of use name recognition and just crap all over this. So I'm somewhat optimistic. A lot of people are upset in the fandom because it's not going to be a continuation but a reboot. And he brought up a great point. Like 2/3 of that original cast has passed away now, so it'd be really, really hard to do that. So I'm actually kind of glad. I do hope some of the cast is still alive. Maybe they can have different roles or something, or they can make cameos or something like that. I hope they do that, honor those characters that are those actors that are still with us, because it's a show, like I said, it's very dear to me. It's very dear to a lot of people, and I just hope they do it with respect. So fingers crossed. I didn't think that this would ever happen, so I'm glad it's happening, and I'm glad that JMS does have the keys, and I hope the magic is still there. Started Foundation, you guys. I said last week that it was coming out. I wasn't sure when I was going to watch it. Well, we did watch it when we got our new iPhones. We got Apple TV free for like 6 months, so we're going to get to watch Foundation weekly. So it's one of those things where we are binge watchers. We don't like to do stuff weekly, but we're like, okay, we can do like one of those at a time. And right now, there's nothing else on, so we said, okay, we will make it Foundation. And guys, I liked it quite a bit. I do want to be specific, though. I have not read the book. It was one of those I said, I'm not going to read the book because I want to enjoy the show. The showrunner was saying that, look, we couldn't make this exactly like the book because the book takes place over, thousands of years with a rotating cast. We couldn't do it like that, so we had to make some changes. So I said, all right, I'm just not going to read it. I'm going to watch the show, then read it afterwards and kind of say, okay, I can see why they made this change, why they made that change. Look, here's what I'll say about the show. The writing's pretty decent. I mean, it's 2 episodes, so it can go either way. Writing's pretty decent. I'm interested enough in the story to keep going. But here's the thing, guys. It's not just because the show is eye candy, because it is absolutely gorgeous to look at. I mean, I can't imagine major motion pictures looking better than this. And we knew that was the thing. That's what Apple's doing. They're doing less original shows, but they're sinking a ton of money and attention into it. And here's the thing. I have waited my entire life as a lifelong sci-fi television fan. I've waited my whole life for sci-fi TV to look this expensive, because the show looks crazy expensive and it looks absolutely stunning, you guys. So I recommend you give it a shot. There are lots of ideas I'm really, really interested in. I think Lee Pace is absolutely crushing it. I feel like he's the only one who could wear some of those ridiculous outfits they have on him and deliver some of those over-the-top lines and absolutely crush both of them. He is phenomenal. Jared Harris is always good in just about anything that he's in. And there are other cast members of the show that you'd be like, oh, I've seen them in this or that. But yeah, those two really, really stand out quite a bit. And I think they're both just great at what they're doing. And I'm excited to continue with the show. Haven't started Midnight Mass yet. I know this sounds crazy. I'm just the biggest Mike Flanagan fan, and I haven't watched Midnight Mass yet. Now, here's the problem. We were going to start it, I think, Sunday night, and my kid comes downstairs, and he's like, oh, are you guys going to watch something? I'm like, yeah, what's wrong? He's like, I was going to ask if we could watch Tremors. And I was like, my man, I've waited 9 years for you to ask me a question like, when are we going to watch Tremors, okay? Tremors is a movie that I think has a legacy on its own because it's such a wild concept. It's like someone read Dune while they were completely smashed on like Miller High Life and said, what can I make out of this? And that's what they came up with. And Tremors is a movie I loved when I was about his age. And I hadn't seen it since I was about his age, honestly. So I was expecting to be like, well, yeah, then it's a lot better than nostalgia. I was surprised at how well that movie holds up. Watch the Blu-ray. It actually looks really good. Practical effects age so much better than forced, CGI before it could look. It basically looked like old Babylon 5 did, So yeah, I was actually impressed by it. It's a fun movie. Great. He had a great time with it. It was part of our. We're trying to introduce him because we watch a bunch of horror movies in October. We're trying to kind of ease him into that. So that was one of the ones we thought, hey, it's got a couple of jumps in it, but it's fine. It's a good way to start into it. But that's the one of all the ones we picked. That and Edward Scissorhands are the first two that he picked. So good times. And Tremors aged beautifully. I suggest you check it out if you've never seen it before. And there is a gaming talk thing, guys, I want to talk about before I go here. I have been very vocal about not liking this remake craze that current gen gaming does. Or, I guess the past gen now, because there's a current gen, but no one can buy those consoles, because can we really call it current gen? But I digress. I really hate when it's just the same game with updated graphics and they charge full price for it. So basically, you've given it a fresh coat of paint, it's the same exact game, and you're charging $65 for it. That's usually when I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. But you know what? There are some that they'll take and they'll completely rebuild it from the ground up. It's a completely new game, but it's very faithful to the original. And then they charge $30 for it, guys. And that is what ActRaiser Renaissance is. I got this on Steam the other day. Now, ActRaiser was a game I played on the old Super Nintendo. I loved it. It took all the best things about Sim Earth or Theme Park. If you ever played any of those, we're just building simulators. And they added like action into it. And it was just such an awesome game that I really, really got into. And with this remake, they've completely built it from the ground up, from scratch, but they've kept everything that made the original awesome. They've added things to it. I'm never against adding things as long as you're not taking anything away. They're not taking anything away. And they upgraded the soundtrack, to a full orchestral soundtrack. And it's just so awesome, guys. It's a really, really well done remake. I think it has improved everything over the Super Nintendo. I think about the only thing so far that I'm not liking as much as it, and this might just be me, either misremembering or I just haven't unlocked everything on the new version. I remember in the original, like the first land is called Fillmore, and I could get that thing up to a population of about like 1,200 people. In this, it seems like the cap's about like 500. So I don't know if that's something they've changed, or if it's something you go when you do new lands and you can come back and you can continue to grow these things. I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe it's, like I said, it's been a long time since I played it. Maybe I'm just remembering wrong. I don't know. But other than that, it's a great, great time. If you ever played the original, I think you'll have a great time with it. All the nostalgia, all of it. And if you never played the original, I think this would be a great first time to play it. It's nothing that's going to completely blow you away. It's not graphically incredible or anything like that. But it is a really fun simulator game with some 2D side-scrolling action that I think you'd have a good time with. But guys, that was my week. What are you guys doing this weekend? You got anything awesome planned? Are you joining? Are you still with me on Malazan? I want to know how many of you are still with me on Malazan. Drop in the comments and let me know what you're reading, what you're watching, what you're listening to, or what you're playing, or all of the above, guys. Have an awesome, awesome weekend.